Okay, thanks for coming. Looking forward to chatting to you all about inclusion and identity. First of all, can we go around the table and everyone just say their name, what they do as a job, and a little bit about them?
You're ready.
Come on, son.
So I'm Levi Hodge, youth worker, now volunteer coordinator, but youth worker by blood at 224 Youth Zone. Bit about me, my background is I grew up in Knoll West in this estate. When I was about 12, bit of a rocky stage of my life, top of the antisocial behaviour list, on the route to prison, sort of to some extent. And then for me, youth work saved me. And I always shout about that, like youth work, particularly then at Youth Moves, was the one reached out to save me. And from that point, life went a bit turbulent, up and down for a few years. And then I found that actually, youth work's my calling. So here I am, 17 years later.
Thanks for coming. And I remember you when you were 12 at Hen Grove School.
Still not changed.
I am feeling old. Cool, Tara.
Nice to meet you. My name is Tara Miran. In terms of background, my ethnicity is Kurdish. I'm from Kurdistan. We had to relocate, not out of desire and need, but out of having to, because it was unsafe for Kurdish people, the Kurdish nation at that time. I don't know what to say when you say, where are you from? Because I've moved around and I have different identities that build in those different spaces I've been to, and I just sort of embrace it and then add it to my other identities and carry on. But then I feel somewhat rooted in Bristol as well now. I'm a Muslim, I'm a mother, I'm a woman. I work in the University of Bristol in civic engagement. My background in terms of work and education is research, sociology and research. I'm just fascinated by people. One of my drivers in working in communities and always advocating for those that are underserved, I guess, is because I'm of those communities in different ways. And, we face dark times in our lives. And wherever I go, whichever institution I work in, that's my thread. Just make it better than I found it and leave it better. That's where my heart is, despite, working in different spaces.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
I've seen it in action. It's good. Amari.
My name's Omari Cato. I'm the Chief Exec at Creative Powertown and Powertown CIC. I come from a Jamaican background and was kind of born and raised up in East Central and St. Paul's and Eastern. Specialize in working with young people and adults around criminal exploitation and violence, and now just working in the creative sector to amplify as much people's voices and give job opportunities and everything in the creative sector now.
Brilliant. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. And that's why you've been invited, because you all bring a lot of great experience. So I'm going to jump straight in, and I'll just read out the questions. And to be honest, it's a discussion. Jump in at any point. Do you know what I mean? Like, say what you want. Say what really matters. So, first question: different realities in the room. So the question is, when we say inclusion is working, who do you think it's working for, and where do others on this panel see a different reality for young people and communities? Big question.
I think I'll just jump in and see where it goes.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's actually, when you see like the term working, is we see a lot of tick boxy stuff, particularly a lot of my background, I didn't mention, is like Youth Voice, grew up around that and ended up leading Youth Voice work with Youth Moves as well. But actually you see a lot of tick boxy, the things is made to look good, and we're being inclusive because we're running this program and that sort of thing. But I think what's quite often missed is when there's that I keep hitting that, sorry Dougie, when there's that sort of like, the word's gone out of my head, but like the cross section of actually, they might be from a minority race, but then also they might be in poverty, and then they also might be that. And then we've got these programs that are inclusive to give everyone the same experience, but actually that experience needs to be different for them. Not sure where I'm going, but that's the thought in my head.
Like you're saying, intersectional. Like they may include a particular group in terms of their reach. You know, if they say, you know, we're going to have this inclusive program to reach, I don't know, 10 people from the global majority, right?
Yeah.
But they're not thinking of that extra layer. It's like an onion, you know, like disabled and global majority, or from a particular class and global majority. So what I'm taking is you're saying the different layers of that, and they don't go as far as including all of that or being inclusive to all of that.
And I think there's the element of like people's understanding and people believing what they're doing. I think there's that pressure to look good and look like we're doing the right thing. But then there's that real understanding of actually what do we need to put in place to make this experience or to make this project or program, whatever we're doing, accessible, and sort of to include everyone, to make everyone feel like they belong. And I think like a big thing, like I said, linking back to Youth Voice, is actually we can go out, we can consult with young people, we can ask them what they think. But actually the real nitty gritty bit is whether those people are willing to let go of the power and have young people part of developing what that looks like, rather than here, I've got an inclusion program or I've got this program on. What do you think it should look like? And then I'm going to go and do what I want to do anyway.
Which happens a lot.
Yeah, and I've seen it a lot.
Way too much.
It's actually where is that element of, do you know what? We want you to belong to this. We want you to feel part of it. You need to be an active part of it.
Let me chuck something out there for others to kind of jump in. I mean, is that enough to just talk to people and, you know, say what do they want? Is that enough? Does that actually, you know, get the responses you need? You see a lot of things built on, we said we wanted that after a survey or a whatever or discussions, but is that deep enough to actually really create something that matters?
Not at all. And the problem is that if you're dealing with traumatized communities, a lot of the time they only know what they know. And there are things that they don't have the privilege of having or knowledge that they have the kind of privilege to have. So you're looking at, you've not given like certain knowledge or information to a community or built a relationship for the community to understand what's going on, understand how things work. And then you turn around and say, what do you want? Well, what's available? Like in what scope? Like I don't think that process is entirely inclusive in that, because like a lot of communities that have your global majority, especially when they're saying, we've asked and we've been inclusive. There's two things. Have you been inclusive at what level? Is it at the delivery? Is it at a business level in terms of like, are you bringing more inclusion into that corporate ground? And all of these things. And if you're looking at, if you're really trying to be inclusive, it has to be at each stage. Because if you have young people who are looking for role models who are from their backgrounds to give them that hope to be like, do you know what? I can do this. I've seen somebody from my background and they've got to this level, or they have a business and it's doing well and it's a corporate business like the rest of theirs. That's missing big time.
Yeah.
So it's a community. I think our communities are done to not giving, the equity isn't there.
Yeah.
And I think as well, sorry.
It's okay.
I was gonna say, what I think as well is we see, and I've definitely seen it a lot as a young person and professional, is it we quite often see these consultants or these organizations or people, I'm going to say people loosely, but like come into these communities who don't really understand what the community is about, might have a bit of experience in consultation, but then come and try and fix the problems. But again, they've got their own agenda around, this is what I'm coming in to do, but where is that real genuine engagement with the communities? Wherever that may be in the city.
And they may not be of the communities. They may not sound or look like communities.
Do you have to, that's a question, Tara. It's like, and it's interesting you said that, Amara, as well. It's just like, do you think you've got to have walked in the same shoes? Do you know what I mean?
I think it's important. I think it's very, very important.
To really be able to engage, to really be able to support communities to move forward when they know that you've got enough skin in the game. Or
I think
you
I
come
personally,
from elsewhere? Do you know what I mean? Like,
I think there's an ecosystem. It's not one person. So there's, different institutions all involved in one cause, for a particular community. So whether it's, the cash injection that's going into Hartcliffe, all these different institutions are, meeting regularly and trying to figure out how to use this, right?
I have been once.
As an example, right? As an example. But I do think a leading voice or a leading presence around that table are the people of that community or someone of lived experience that lands with that community. Yeah, because you understand the community. You understand that sometimes initiatives come to communities to bring around inclusion or diversity, and you understand that sometimes it's the usual suspects that take advantage of that opportunity. And while you take that group with you and you roll with them and roll out the initiative and work with these people, there's the same groups that are always getting left behind, and they say, what about us? And that's the group that I'm always thinking of, no matter what. That's the group I'm always thinking of, because I know some other groups that are already tapped in, to these online platforms. So they see messages being circulated, they're tapped into WhatsApp groups, so they're digitally connected to their local community. Or they have like family members that work in different spaces, so the message reaches them through their family. That's great. That means you're part of an ecosystem that's already connected, and you already, I guess, feel somewhat seen or included in some spaces like that. But then what about those that aren't? Those are the voices that really need more visibility, and they need someone to advocate for them.
Is that if they haven't been in those kind of situations or experiences before, they might not necessarily have all those skills to go.
And you need someone to bring you in. You need someone to bring you in the door.
Doing something in a community that you know a whole lot about. And, that experience.
And it could take time. It could take time. Like, what good is me bringing an initiative and saying, here, we're looking for 10 people to include. We're looking for 10 people that can come and join us on this program. And this is the outcome of the program. So you're presenting the outcome. 10 people are going to come and join in. What good is that? What good is that if you haven't reached the next level? If we're always doing the nice thing, which I think is the nice thing to do inclusion work, great, it's nice. But what is inclusion versus equity? We've got a long way to go, because people are still talking about equality. Let's aim for equality, or let's include minorities. If I have minorities, I switch off. Because I'm not a minority. I'm from several underserved communities. I'm not a minority. So I switch off if the language doesn't even land,
It feels like there's a couple of things, isn't it, with everything that's been said. It's like, for one, it's relationship, like a more meaningful relationship that's over a period of time. Understanding of community, culture, background, all that kind of stuff. And people can tell, can't they? Young people, like, to smell it a mile off. It's absolutely, don't get me wrong, there's always going to be, it's difficult, isn't it? Because you get bigger as an organisation and suddenly you'll get seen in a different way. Do you know what I mean? That's the truth of that. It doesn't mean to say that you're not part of that community, but it will mean that the mechanics maybe of how that organisation works and can deal with situations, just say £20 million. I can only guess this is how it works. I'm not from this, that world particularly. But that kind of money, it's going to be unlikely it's going to be given to smaller organisations, because there probably would be a worry giving big chunks of money to a smaller organisation of what they can deal with that kind of stuff. However, most of that would probably go directly to the ground to support young people, because they are ingrained in doing the work, and that's all they're worried about. They haven't got a hierarchy. Do you know what I mean?
I think, this is where the problem lies, and I wouldn't say it's completely doom and gloom at the moment. I think
£20 million. It's huge.
I think
you've said the same thing. Loads of money.
100%. I think as Bristol, we've made a good start, but it can go either way at the moment. I think is either you've made a good start and now you've got good intentions to say this is what you set out to do, is either you're going to go left with this and it's not going to work, or you're really going to tune in with smaller organizations and empower them. So this is the problem. Like, majority of the time, if you look at some of these smaller organizations, they're doing the most work. So if you're not empowering the smaller organizations, what are you saying to the young people? Because even when you have like some of these corporate companies that are coming in, our young people ain't used to that. They're not used to having that corporate front. They're used to having that community feel and those relationships. So unless you're going to build these smaller organizations until they're corporate, because then the young people start to understand, okay, this is how you work. This is,
watch that growth.
Like, what's the environment you're having the young people in? And if you're not empowering organizations who are in the community, who are on, I would say, the front line of things, the young people, they're still 2 worlds away. And it's just organizations flying in, doing a project, getting a crap load of money, and then shooting off again. And then the young people are like, well, what next?
Well, it's like there's a double bit in there, isn't there? And I'll jump on to the next question. But I think like there's that bit, isn't there, about you need like those small organizations need the support that are on the ground. And then there's big organizations that are doing good stuff that have got more money. But then if the norm becomes what the bigger institutions or organizations deliver, then, you know, a generation's time down the line, the other stuff that other people are delivering may not still be continuing. And if it is, like you're suddenly going to be judged on what other stuff is happening. It's just, it's a balance, isn't it?
Here's the chicken and egg, in my opinion, right? You have large organizations who are doing the work and they're saying we're doing great work and they're getting funded handsomely in that respects. And then you've got smaller organizations and they're saying, oh, our stats are good. But if I gave it to a small organization and I gave them the same resources, I think I get better results because the relationships are there. So the time that an organization has to spend to go to a completely different area to then build the relationship before they can even implement the work.
Yeah,
that's already been
and
invested in elsewhere.
Funding 2 years funding.
That startup work. You're saying it's already been done. Let's invest more into that. They can hit the ground running if they have that cash injection, which we see that all around us in communities, St. Paul's, Hartcliff, totally different types of communities in some ways, but you see it.
It's not, do you know what I mean? It's not just here, is it? Let me jump into the next question. But I mean, to be honest with you, we could keep going on that one.
Question all day.
This is the normal vibe. It's like, all right, questions out the window, as we have done in the past, as you know. We'll stick to it today. So next question. So which young people and communities are still most likely to be excluded or underserved? And how does that exclusion show up in community trust, in cohesion or tension?
Big one.
It's the community. It's many communities, but I would say it's the communities that are at the intersections of inequalities. So there's so many of them. It's not just like, for example, Black communities, Black, disabled, working class, neurodivergent, you know, Muslim and Black. Imagine the layers. And the more layers, like the onion, the more difficult.
And there's more even once you peel into that.
And then you get right into the core and then you find one person that's been through so much. And yes, they will eventually not have the confidence. Yes, they've been worn down. They're isolated. You know, yes, they will find it hard to walk into a room, even if the opportunity is dressed up like a bouquet in the middle of the room. They will find it hard to walk into that room. Maybe to even get out of their home to walk across the community to that room, even if the room is on their doorstep, you know? So they won't engage. What does that mean for cohesion? It just sort of withers away, you know? And then it does sometimes contribute to tensions in the community that build and build and build. And we could see that in our communities. So we have to sort of work backwards, don't we?
Let me chuck it in. How does it kind of show up then in the communities that you all live in?
They disengage. They find other things to do that, you know, someone like me, I would see them and I'll think, but you're such a creative, like there's so much talent, I guess, trapped in poverty or talent trapped in opportunity, exactly. And I'm looking at them and I'm like, well, you know, you don't dream that big for yourself, but the rest of us can see it, you know? But you can't dream that big for yourself because you can't see it, reality working for you. You can see it working for others, but you can't see the pathway for yourself from where you are to there. Or maybe you're not surrounded by a space where you feel there's hope for you, or there's too many barriers. So what's the point of trying anyway? Where do you begin when there's so many barriers? Where do you begin? your immediate environment might not exactly be what you need for your growth sometimes. And that could be depending on where you live, the fact that you may not have access to a bus to get you out of the area to go and pursue an opportunity somewhere in town is just so challenging for those groups. And then to be a young person, can you imagine how lost you would feel if you had all those different barriers? Where do you begin? I think it begins with finding that one person that sees that and values you and then is with you on that journey,
And I think, like I mentioned at the start, that's what that one person saved me. And I'm a big believer in that. And I've always said now through my career, as long as I can inspire or not me change, because they change it themselves, but as long as I can support a young person to change their life, then that's my job done. But I just think it's that important role of youth work as well, in a way of being like, what investment is going into that young person or them young people to actually unpick what's going on. We see all these headlines, we see all these sort of top level stuff, and then people come in trying to fix, but actually where is that time to unpick? Like you said, get to know all these challenges. And you said about opportunities. I think that's the big thing, is how are we providing young people with these opportunities to not only challenge their views but to broaden their horizons. I can remember when I worked in a school and the head teacher stood up and said, like, which I've never really thought about before, but we're just talking about an English lesson, and she said, like, how are we expecting our students from Hartcliffe and Withywood to write about a trip to the beach and do creative writing? Let's write about a trip to the beach if a lot of them have never been to the beach, a lot of them never left their street, like you said, they're stuck in their houses. So how are we providing them opportunities? And I think that's where it's not just solely youth work, there's a lot of things, but that's where I think youth work plays that real part, back to them relationships, back to that, let's take the time, let's invest in you, let's get to know you and sort of unpick what's going on and give you them opportunities, give you them sort of resources to take life in the direction you want to go or overcome.
Not treat it like a case, but treat it as the person with a full name. It's
you
not.
You need experiences, don't you,
case.
to be able to understand certain things. Like that particular obviously example, but a million other things. Like you only know what you know. You said it earlier on. It's true, isn't it? None of us do. And if you don't get afforded the opportunities,
100%. And I think is a tough one in so many. Like, it's so complex. Because if we're looking at, so two things. If we're looking at exclusion, or children who have been excluded, there are problems on both sides. So when they're excluded, it's like, right, they're out there, they're vulnerable at that stage. But what happens to those kids who ain't excluded, who are still within education or still within like any provision, but being failed? And what message is that saying as well? Like, some of the times when I'm hearing about some of the situations in school, or when a young person is being sent to isolation, which I don't know why they've called it that.
Not the best name, is it? Well, we could go on about this a lot,
but like, if you think about it, like, you might have a young person, and they're having traumatic experiences either in their household or in their community. They go to school and their behavior is going to switch because they don't know how to navigate what they're going through, but then is seen as like, this young person's playing up.
Disruptive,
isolation. So when you actually really look at the situation, you're punishing a young person
for the life that they didn't choose.
Like you're punishing them for displaying their trauma. Like, is a cry for help. So instead of somebody saying, right, we need to kind of get to the bottom of this and find out what's going on with this young person, is isolation. Or what's happening in isolation?
Nothing.
Like, so if they're still in the school system, and these are the things that I think is dangerous, is when you're excluding a young person from any educational provision, that's attached to their aspirations in terms of career-wise. Because we tell young people education's the key. So if you fail in education, they're not really going to feel like they're going to do great when it comes to...
They don't feel part of what society is, what's in offer. That's your direction.
Yeah.
If you're not going to thrive in that, what are you going to do?
All right. And then if they're not, but they're being failed, it's still the same message. It's you're here, but
you're less than.
You're less than. It's not really for you. You're going to be down here if you're lucky. Like, so both things need to be addressed. It's what happens if there is exclusion, and what happens if something ain't going right. Like, how do we work together to actually put things in place and have a better strategy? And I think sometimes the big problem is the institution's egos. Like,
not just
it needs to be like a holistic.
Well, we don't need like anyone to come and tell us how to do our job. Yes, you do. It's not about.
It's like marking your own homework. You can't mark your own homework from the outside. They can see what could work better. Why would I mark my own homework? Because I'll give myself 10 out of 10 if I was doing that, you know?
As leaders, like if you're a community leader or in a leadership role, you know, as a leader, sometimes you follow, sometimes you lead.
Yeah.
And that's a good leader, is to know, right, it's a humble position. You learn, you come back, you apply the learning, you'll make mistakes, you ask for help. All of these things are all a part of leadership. So as these educational institutions, there are times where they need to say, do you know what? We know that there's some youth practitioners that are great. We don't understand what's going on. We need to take some direction from you guys at this point for these areas. And is there anything we can help you guys with in terms of youth practitioners to say, what are the gray areas for you? Yeah. And that collaboration needs to happen a lot more.
Do you find that collaboration happens still? Because I've worked in mainstream schools. I've worked in youth work for forever and a day. And I don't know, from the outside looking in a little bit, I'm not sure if it does happen as much, and I think it's probably because there's more limitations and, you know, lots of youth provisions. Don't get me wrong, there's obviously still some that, you know.
And probably the schools, you know, just looking at my, they're struggling. They're struggling. Everything's tight.
That holistic view of young people.
Yeah.
There's loads
it's
of
less
teachers
holistic, and some teachers,
you can only do so much.
Yeah, some teachers want to do that. They want to deliver more holistic education, and they want to be a part of that type of teaching and those ecosystems. And it's very limited that what they can and can't do. And even like going off site to go on a beach, even if there was a provision and the resources for it, they have to then figure out when can we fit it into the diary. And it just seems like it's so squeezed in my experience from what I'm seeing. I don't work in teaching, but my children go to different schools as well. And also I'm in communication with those school teaching networks. So I don't have direct teaching experience, but this is what I'm seeing and on the receiving end of. And when you say, you know, some children suffer more than others, I find that so interesting as well, because in some schools, depending on the setup as well, also location, as well, depends on the class, you know, whether you're up the hill, below the hill type of thing, north or south of the river. You get some schools where I have witnessed some children from particular classes, particular socioeconomic backgrounds, they're invested in more, and some are not. And I look at that and it makes me increasingly uncomfortable and frustrated, because I could see this talent that's not tapped into one child who's like multi-talented, and he just happens to be born down the hill, you know, just happens to be born in a community that's underserved. So they kind of get overlooked, despite the fact there being loads of, you know, I guess different institutions feeding in generally into that particular area, let's say, because it's so underprivileged, underserved. But the same groups miss out. The same groups of children do miss out. And then you get pockets of that type of behavior reflecting on the school playground, because with the parents, with the, carers, then children do pick up on it too, but they eventually get used to it and they stop picking on it. They stop talking about it. They stop questioning it. They succumb to the system.
There's different parts of the city as well, isn't there, where there's obviously been more movement with people moving in, moving out, you know, with money, with no money, and a variety of those different things. And if you're in those schools, I'm guessing you see that more. I guess probably over here it's a bit more, it's probably less like that. Do you know what I mean?
And I think for me it's interesting, like when you're saying about opportunities and some of the stuff you've said, it's how, when you think deeper into it, is those who are playing up, acting out, that sort of thing, getting the attention, although I don't like that term, but that sort of
support,
thing is like
support.
That, but then schools, I think, and I talk generally here, sort of go down the route of like, right, we now need to look at this. And I think there's a lot of more work that needs to go into prevention rather than being responsive.
100%.
But then when you've got all these kids kicking off in school because of something, all the attention's gone to that, we need to put something in place for them. But where's the support for the quieter ones, the ones who are also experiencing poverty, the ones who also might go
in silence.
under the radar.
Yeah.
And I
Well, they
think
don't have a voice. They've had to eventually go quieter. Just
Go
get used to
suffer
it. Just
a whole
quietly.
lot more
And that's your
based
norm.
on
That's
that.
why you no longer question it, because that's the norm you've got used to. And then you look at their norm and another child's norm who happens to be born into a more privileged lifestyle. Just naturally, that's their luck. That's their destiny. And it's a whole divide, like vast divide of what they also accept as the norm for their life.
And I think we see it like my experience in pastoral teams as well, and particularly with youth work, is you become that, you're there to work with the naughty ones or the problem children, but actually where's all that
Well, how
element of the others?
Do you actually reintegrate, not you, but just like generally, do you reintegrate people slowly, trying to support them so they feel like they've got something to offer and there's something that can work for them to go back into that school system where they believe they got something to offer? And it's exactly the same kind of thing you were talking about before as well. It's about like, interventions, early interventions.
Just that one person
we already
you
know,
need.
like at 12 years old, we literally know with all the different stats that come with it, free school meals, one parent family, learning
Everything,
difference.
understanding
which
what you're
direction.
reading.
Take colour into it. You know what I mean? Like even more, like there's more obvious things.
Everything, literacy.
So the intervention, we know when to put it in there.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is. Like
But there's a big issue. The education as an institution is very old and it's not updated.
Yeah.
And you're still teaching young people some of the stuff that my grandparents had to sit down and go through. But now you're
Is it relevant?
Yeah.
Was it relevant then?
There are so many more different kinds of careers that didn't exist back then. The same as when you look at young people and they're talking about going to uni and they're like, well, this is a viable. Like I remember there was a young lady and she said, I want to be a social media influencer. And everyone was just like, pardon? Like, what's that? This is nonsense.
Yeah.
But then if she was to look at data and then give them and say, well, this is the income of this career and here's some evidence, there wouldn't be any argument.
Then their ears would listen.
Do you know what I mean? So
understand,
and I
the
think
realities of today.
that's the problem as well, because you have some young people who look at education systems now and they're like, you're out of date. Like there's nothing, how do I apply what you're teaching me to the real world as I'm experiencing it, as I'm exploring and doing research, and then they're stuck and being like, well, what am I going to use here?
Yeah.
So there is like the generic framework that is needed in terms of like your reading, your writing and everything else. ChatGPT gonna make people lazy with that. But
that is another podcast.
Can of worms.
but like there is like a lot of need for some of like the core subjects. But just like you're saying, like going down to the beach or some of these things, it's needed.
Stuff,
like,
do you know what I mean?
like there needs to be more diversity in the education system. It shouldn't be, oh, we need to see if we can carve out the time or can we find the time for it. It's supposed to be a part of the plan.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
It's
mean?
part of life. It's part of your...
a little bit more adaptable to the individual needs. And as much as this might seem like quite difficult, like at the end of the day, it's either we fail some young people that don't necessarily fit into the molds that the system you're talking about provides, or we actually provide skills, and opportunities for young people. So when they leave school, they're better equipped in life.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole reason for school.
For me, it's
not
about
like, you know what I mean? Like,
restructure.
it's not about,
because you might not pick the career that...
You wouldn't even know about it. Because
you might not
wouldn't
know
have
about
seen
it.
anyone
Like
else
me,
that's
my
necessarily doing that.
Yeah.
It's like in anything, if you haven't seen it and you
just need
don't
that
see
one
the
person. For me,
pathway.
it's like needing resources and then restructuring some power dynamics amongst institutions, and then also having people in leadership that are of those communities, that communities have seen navigate that system, and they see you and they're like, look, I could do her. I could work there. I could do that. I could wear a headscarf and I could do that.
Makes it
I could have
possible,
this accent and I could work in this type of institution. And for me, I just always want to say this because I'm still trying to find the teacher, but I had a teacher in year 4. I came to this country at the end of year 4, went to London, went to school. I was even pronouncing my name the way I thought it should be pronounced in England. So I started going with Tara rather than Tara. So I just code switched straight away and trying to adjust to a whole new life. And then also not speaking English, but having to translate for my parents, but actually not speaking English. So it was so difficult. Someone somewhere allowed all this to happen, and I had to grow up so fast in many different ways. And I remember there was this one, I had a teacher called Miss Chand, but I don't remember the other teacher, but my year 4 teacher, she had someone assigned to me that would read to me and read with me every single day. I was reading the Biff, Kip and Chipper books. I bought them the other day just for memory's sake. Just memories. My children are not interested. They're like, Mum, what is this? Guys, please tell me English. And she invested in me, and she sat with me and read with me every day. And that was life-changing for me. Completely, because then it just opened a whole other world to me. Then my SATs were coming up in year 6, and I thought, do you know what? I've got enough time. I could do it. And even by then, I couldn't learn a lot of things. It was a different system I was trying to get used to, different education system. So I bought loads of books, photocopied them, and just started learning things off by heart, because I didn't understand it. So I had to learn it off by heart because I knew it would be coming up in the exams. And it's all good and well. But when I look back, that moment did change my life. That reading did change my life. And she was an older lady. She was very quiet. She couldn't be any more different to me. She was white, middle class, very different on the outside. But on the inside, both of us knew this reading is going to help me. And it was like words like cat, dog, chip went out, simple. But it changed my life in terms of settling in and integrating to this community. Yeah.
It's huge. And you're saying exactly the same thing as Levi in a different kind of situation, with that one person that believed in you in whatever way, that sat down and built that connection and relationship in a way that you
and then I had that at home. I had my dad, who's also like, yes, education. We left that in Kurdistan, we were ripped from it, but we can pursue it here now. This is a world where they do have education. This is a country where you have it at your disposal. And the fact that I was getting it from school and I was getting the message echoed at home, it did change a lot of things. It instilled a lot in me positively that I now can pass on to my children. And the other day I was telling my dad, it was huge. I was telling my dad the other day, I was like, Dad, thank you. You recall your life when you look back, and you recall the moments and the people.
I just want to say the next question, because it absolutely links with this, and I think otherwise what will happen, we'd go off and it'd be a 5-hour job, and Dougie would be going. But it absolutely links in, so probably what you're going to say is going to connect with this. But the next question is, what does real inclusion actually cost in terms of power, funding or risk, and who in the system should be the most accountable for paying that price? Does it link? Sorry. Here we go.
Will you take that one?
For me,
it comes to you for BS skills.
Yeah. For me, is that sort of, like I said, about that investment, that sort of thing, and where's the time to sit with them young people and find out what's going on? So I think, like you were saying, it's brilliant for you that you had that from that teacher.
Yeah.
And then Parents Home was saying the same thing. But then I think what we see, particularly for me, locally here in South Bristol, is that school are saying one thing, parents are saying another thing. I don't know what the hell's going on, but where's that sort of that time for someone to sit and be like, what do you think about this? What do you think?
Yeah.
And I think the other side of it as well is that I say professionals is a wider term, whether that's schools or youth workers or working with young people, whoever that may be, is having that real knowledge of what's going on themselves and being scared to talk about it because they don't want to say the wrong thing, or they're not quite sure where it's going to go as well. So I think...
Is that the power bit as well? Because there's certain positions and certain roles, let's be honest, whether it be social services, education, not everyone in education, there's certain roles that will scare the living daylights out of a lot of people, young people growing up, talking about certain things that might implicate people, family, whoever,
course,
in a situation which stuff that they're having to hold on to, and they shouldn't. But how do they do that?
The power needs to be shared in order for you to get a better result. And on both sides of the coin, and this is something very simple, but something very profound. And it even happened to me in my old workplace. And it was, I heard one of the managers say, all right, guys, I'm in this role. I'm new in this role. We're going to figure it out. I'm going to make mistakes. Then we're going to figure it out and we'll get it right.
Yeah.
Now, when you're dealing with global majority who sometimes don't feel welcomed all the time, the simplicity of we're going to try something and we're going to make mistakes, then we're going to evaluate until we get it right.
That's how it's supposed to be.
How
Not
often have you felt that?
given.
Yeah.
Like, and that's why when you're looking at, okay, right, we're going to make these attempts. Historically, things might have went wrong. It's a new generation of practitioners now. Let's go again. Let's try and empower them. Let's try and do things again. They're going to get a few things wrong, but let's give them that grace. Let's also communicate that to them, that we're not expecting you to get it right
we're all
straight
growing
away.
together. Yeah, we're all learning,
you know what I mean?
changing, growing. Yeah.
And that's the problem. It's, oh yeah, you can apply for funding, but there's nobody saying to the community, you might not get this right the first time.
Also, the application
okay.
might be 40 pages long.
Yeah.
You know, let's not start on that one. Yeah.
It's a process. You learn from the process. You might do that piece of work,
Yeah.
and if it is truly youth-led or community-based, then it might not work.
It's a low risk, but it's a risk. Yeah, take the risks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Golden
I
egg.
think that is the thing. Is
The thing.
Yeah.
I don't think there's enough people, and I talk about
Oh, hello.
Levi's off again. I don't think there's enough people just willing to take that risk or willing to let go of that power, and I've seen that.
That's where the goal is.
And I think that's what I
where the
feel
goal
is
is.
actually
Yeah.
it's adults who are stuck in, whether we say old times. I don't even want to just say old times, because we see younger adults
Different
who's the
structures,
same.
I guess,
It's that sort of structure thing, or people at the top who are being like, I'm at the top, I say how it is.
Yeah.
Not let's go on this journey together. Let's just take that risk and we'll see what happens. If it goes wrong, it goes wrong.
Is that a money thing? Because let's be straight, especially in the voluntary sector, like slightly different. I know there's different roles, people work in different roles, but is that a money thing? And it isn't just money. I know it's like, you know,
It's money.
if you've got that commitment of whatever it might be to pay for your team and they get that professional development and all the rest of it, then them going and delivering whatever that thing is that matters based on long-term relationships and finding out what young people really want to do. The fact that it doesn't go in the way that the funder wanted it to, with the outcomes and all the rest of it, it goes in a direction that's completely different. That surely is where the gold is. But then how do you continue doing that and still doing that? Because you then got to go and get another lot of funding.
Well,
Flexible
Do you know what I mean?
long-term
Like,
funding.
how
That's
do you-
it. Just make
I'm
it
putting that
flexible,
out
make
there.
it long-term.
It is. You're right. Is a resources problem. It's cash flow. Like if you want to have a bigger staff, if you want to have a bigger team, it's cash flow. If you want to be able to do for us, it's all going to boil down to that. The problem is that a lot of communities have been set up to fail, and I'll tell you why. The minute you relinquish your responsibilities, so I feel the council used to kind of fund all of these youth centres, maintain them, it was their responsibility, and people were working as youth practitioners. Then there was cuts to the youth sector, and from that, it then goes into community assets. So then you have some community leaders who will have assets, but you're not a businessman or woman.
Yeah.
You're community workers. But now you have to run this as a business.
Yeah.
So now you've
Switch,
got community youth workers who now have to turn into entrepreneurs to even...
Welcome. I know you do that as well.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
You get further away from
It's heavy. It's a
actually
heavy
what-
load. Yeah.
Yeah.
matters.
Navigate that change as
So
well. Yeah.
these are
the
where...
skills to make it happen as well.
Do you know what I mean? So
And I-
this is where you're going into it now.
I think it comes back to that as well, like I was saying just now around that. I'm seeing a lot of stuff now where it's that responsive stuff. So we're seeing this funding coming out, but it needs to be in response to this going on. It needs to hit these outcomes. But where is that funding to just, here we go, here's
We
£1,000
believe in
or
you.
even more. Go and do your thing and let's see what happens. I think it's a lot more now. There's a problem with knife crime. There's a problem with this. There's a problem with this. There's all these pots of money, but you need to be working towards this, which then you are set to not being able to go on the path, which we might want to is authentic youth workers, but actually, where is that funding to just, here we go, Ben, here's £5,000, go you do your thing.
Yeah.
Nice one.
'Cause-
You read that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think also obviously there's ecosystems of people in positions of power. There's someone right at the very top of the triangle making that decision of where that money, that part of funding goes up and down.
Government or
everywhere, in
funders?
every institution, so different institutions, different people involved in a particular picture or area or a theme, like knife crime, for example, right? I think part of the solution that could make this whole process and way of working, I personally think that could be better. One simple change is the people that sit at the top, or the advisors of the people that sit at the top. There's something around cultural competency, like they're not of that community. Are you of that community? What is your lived experience of that community? So you have some different the curtains are gone from your eyes. You could really connect to the community. You've been to that area, the dynamics within that area as well. Some areas have loads of community organizations and on paper they're seen as assets, okay? And then it's not until you're on the ground, you're like, oh, this organization needs, like you say, there's a lot of people here doing what should be youth work, but it seems like now it's a whole business. There's more going on there. We need to inject more support into that. Sometimes it's not money. Sometimes you're a big institution and you have these assets as people. They are paid people that can come in and help and support on the ground. And we don't see that on the ground. So when we are in those communities, we feel disconnected from these larger, bigger institutions. But I do think there's people missing as you go up in institutions, as you work your way in bigger, larger institutions as well. And, career progression wise as well. And hierarchy wise, the people generally making the decisions for communities and about communities are not of those communities. I would love to be proved wrong from now on.
Let me chuck something in there then. So if there's something in, if you end up going up whatever that hierarchy might be in institutions, government, whatever it is, do you have to change who you are to some extent if you're coming from whatever a normal everyday community to fit in, to go up that ladder? And then once you are up that ladder, then how do you make those decisions that would be more likely to actually make a difference on the ground? And last piece to this, and I don't know what you're going to say, is, surely the clear answer to this is, if youth community work was valued, the government would be putting in billions, knowing that this is that warm cloak that keeps everything together.
Well, there's a lot of other things that
is it valued?
There's a lot of other things like adult social care that should be valued. SEND support. Everywhere we look, to me, they are frontline services, and they're all underserved, undercuts everywhere. Yeah. Teachers striking all the time, not getting paid enough.
In all those situations, if you had a warmer cloak of intervention at a younger age. Don't get me wrong, they won't get away the need for all those things, I agree.
Yeah.
But you're right, there's a lot.
The problem is that you have people from very, very different backgrounds to the areas that need support. And they don't understand sometimes, well, how did this problem occur? Well, why are they going through this? And they're coming up with ideas that sound like garbage to us, and to them, it might sound like a good idea, but we're not there. And when you look at the cuts, that was the most stupidest thing that the government's ever done, is make cuts to youth service. Because you're basically saying, forget our future. Like, young people are always going to be our future, and then we're going to grow up and be old, and they're going to have young kids
as well. That's
do you know what I mean? Yeah. So to do that, no wonder why we're struggling and in loads of different crises with housing, cost of living, all sorts of stuff, because the leaders are they're nuts.
Something's not right.
Well, we've got a new one coming in, and who knows?
Well, wouldn't it be nice if you had him for a podcast?
Probably not a good idea.
And he said he's not changing his ways, didn't he? He's not wearing a suit.
I do think there's a pressure as you climb the ladder in different institutions to feel like you need to become more institutionalized.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't have climbed the ladder otherwise, because they wouldn't have. They won't want you in.
No, yes, but I do think there's a real strength personally to remain yourself in all the layers that comes in, and to take that and tackle a whole new institution where you are of a minority in that institution, not only to settle in, but to stay put. Okay. And that is sometimes some of the hardest things that I personally navigate when I look around different spaces and I see that I'm of a minority in that group. But in my head, I'm 6'2", I'm in the majority. And that's what I channel before I leave home, you know, and I channel white man energy. I actually do it, white man, middle class energy. And I'm like, do it. If they can do it, you can do it. But I think generally women anyway, will apply for a job if they think they're like 60, 70% ready for it. And there's data to show that with men is different. They could be underqualified and they will still apply with full confidence, generally, not everyone, but generally. And so I take those things with me, you know.
Why would that's interesting.
There's a lot of things there, yeah.
Confidence, something to do with
something
ability,
there, and then women
self-worth.
as well. As you approach your 40s, even the biggest, brightest ones,
Family
you know, you're gonna
situations,
get invisible. In your 40s, you're gonna be invisible. So you need to either go big or go home. This is what my experience is so far. Either go big or go home. If you feel like you're gonna be invisible, wear some bright trousers that day. It might just work. It might make you feel good. You know, that's how I see it. And what I
get told off for wearing flashy socks.
For me, it's about the socks and the bright trousers. It does channel
really?
energy for me. It does, and I think there's more positive knock-on effect of being yourself in those types of institutions, because if you're going to stand out and be different, might as well stand out. Might as well be different and just stand out, embrace that. And this is me putting a positive twist on it, right? Because there's also the negatives that you take home and it hurts every day. You go and show up again and again and again. And that is a long journey of challenges. But also there's that one person that's going to see you that looks like you, and she's going to say, oh, she looks like me, she can do that. And they do come and show up, and they do come and visit you, and they do come and connect and say, oh, I've seen a job advert with you, do you think I should apply? And then I'm like, yeah, do it, you know. And there are cases like that. And then eventually, it might take time, but eventually I hope to look back within 10 years and say, look, this is the change I made. And now if I have more diversity around me, how we look and how we think, then I've been a part of creating a better space. This is what fuels me positively.
I kind of feel like you're right, definitely down to a T with that. And I think I'm always careful when we're talking about, can we progress without change? And you need to change. You just need to change in the right way, because growth is change. And for me, the reason why I be careful with that is because sometimes we can deter like young people who don't understand what we mean by that change. So it's just like, how do we build a good foundation to build upon? And when you're going into these rooms, even letting them know we're all gonna change. Now you put me here because we're diverse, so we're all gonna think different.
Yeah.
So everyone who's already been in this room, you lot need to get ready to be uncomfortable. I'm gonna be uncomfortable, and we're gonna create something that's excellent. That ain't what you was doing before.
Or what you planned. You don't plan. Let's take everyone's experience.
Do you know what I mean? But there has to be some form of growth. Like I wouldn't want to see like somebody thinking in the same way 10 years ago.
That's a waste of 10 years.
That
is a waste of 10 years.
But it is about, are we being indoctrinated?
In some ways.
Like if they're indoctrinating us into some form of like belief that they have, or whatever the case is, or what their system is, and we need to throw ours away, then there's an issue there.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why we're not seeing change is because there's too many people comfortable. So,
but this fits in with what you were saying a minute ago. I wonder, this is probably maybe part of that point is like you're saying, if you've if you've gone through the hard yards of working in an organisation, company, charity, whatever it is, and you've had to change your identity, not change your identity, but kind of basically adapt to what's around you to make sure that opportunities might come your way.
Yeah.
Or you're on the other side of the fence where you're not going to change who you are.
There's
and
a mix, isn't there? Like a balance.
Flag on the ground. I'm being my authentic self.
Yeah.
Rev up. Let's try and do the best we can. There's two really distinctly different kind of ways of doing things there. I don't know what the right thing is.
There's a middle path
And
as
maybe
well,
there's-
though. Yeah.
You need both of it. But ultimately, somehow, I guess
Yeah.
you need to have some people at the table.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
And you can
none
go
of
from
this is
some to
gonna change.
another. Like you
True.
can jump
On the
round
ground,
between.
different,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. You can jump in between. Like for me, I'm not willing to bend on my principles, and some ways that where I see a better vision or I see another route that's unexplored, you know, I those are the things where I'm flexible, you know, where I'm like, we could do things differently. I will put those challenges on the table, different ways of thinking that may be outside of my ways of thinking sometimes, or ways of doing. But then I know that within that institution, that's possible. It may be different to the way I work, but in this institution, it's possible. And we need to speak that type of language to make the change happen on the ground, yeah? Sometimes you have to work within different structures, but if I feel that structure is going to really limit or block out the same people, or it turns into a long process of application, and then you know that the same people would apply and other people wouldn't, then I will interrogate that, and I won't back down on that. That's where I won't be willing to change. I will interrogate it, and interrogation, but with a solution.
you can get a
yeah,
name
like
for
I'm
yourself,
offering a
can't you,
solution.
doing that?
Yeah,
Like, and that can impact. Obviously, you can work another way, but it's like it's a tightrope, isn't it? When you've got
It is a tightrope.
feed your family and all
But-
the rest of it. Like,
yeah.
I think that's what's the interesting thing when you're saying, like, with that, do you change and you go with the way things are going, or do you put your flag in? It's that balance of like,
yeah.
do you need to go with it because I need to feed my family,
How far
or
do
do you
you go?
take that
Yeah.
risk, put that flag in,
put your flag in.
and end up like
I'm all up for the
shouting
flag.
on your own? And look, I think for you,
certain
like,
flags, but you know what I mean. No, that's not going down.
well, I think
Or
for
maybe
you,
just-
for you, Ben, obviously, I think you've done
Yeah.
brilliant in terms of like when we worked together at Youth Moves,
Yeah.
went off traveling, and then you put your flag in. And I'm going to go off on my own, and now look where you are. So I think
Yeah.
there is that element of like, do you know what? I'm just back to that risk taking thing.
Yeah.
I'm just
And for
going
the
to
right
take. I'm just
reasons.
going to take that leap
Yeah.
and see what
If you
happens.
open yourself up to it, and Amara, you've done the same as well. And if you
Yeah.
open yourself up to knowing that actually you're going to make that decision, that you're going to do the right thing by young people,
Yeah.
and it isn't always going to work, you know, and it ain't going to be easy, as we already know, because we spoke about it. It's then, you know, you go with that process, and you just keep going as long as you can keep going, don't you? And
Yeah.
and hope
Yeah.
that authenticity is seen in the right way, not discriminated against, not
Yeah.
seen as a threat, not seen as fear, seen as actually just trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that, I don't know about you, but that is a tightrope. But
Do you know
Yeah.
what? There are when you're kind of putting that flag in and you're saying, right, we're going to do things at this standard, da 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 da. There are some really good people in council, in like funding bodies that really want that change. They really want to see these things happen. But it's sometimes it is not necessarily some of the people, it's sometimes the systems in place
Yes,
that bring
100%.
about, and that's why we say that they're institutionally racist, because it's geared for one audience. So they've got to get comfortable to disrupt that.
Be uncomfortable.
Do you know what I mean? And that's why the uncomfortability is to look at, we've been running this system for hundreds of years now. It needs updating.
Yeah.
And we're all going to be
Understandable.
Used to the
uncomfortable
times,
right
yeah.
now.
And the times are complicated. So
let's not go down that rabbit hole.
Do you know what I mean? But like the people who benefiting from it, and it's very like, let's get this. I'll be
7%.
honest, yeah.
It's 7%.
The sector
could go
is
to the
very
city on.
clicky.
yeah.
Very clicky.
Yeah.
So it's either you're one of us or you're one of these people, we don't know what you're doing, and we're skeptical and we're not even trying to go over there.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of work from being the person over there to accepting. And when we're looking at change, it's a relationship. And for a relationship to work, you both have to accept each other. There has to be
Yeah.
acceptance.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like when you're putting that flag in to say, right, listen, here's the gap. You lot ain't covering this gap. I'm covering this gap. And I've proven it works. I've proven it needs, I need the help and the resources. Is it going to come? And that's where like,
We're still waiting. Still waiting.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'd so love to just chat. We're going to do the next question, but there's something maybe we'll bring it into this. But I think you guys are going to have a brilliant, your perception of it would be different than mine. It'd be really interesting. Okay. But anyway, this question is a little bit left field. It's a young person's question. So every podcast we do with the panels has a young person's question.
Yeah.
This one's from Jaden, was living in Hartcliffe up until fairly recently. And his question is, how is certain online media influencing toxic masculinity and going to affect how inclusive young men are?
As the only woman in the room, I'll leave it to you guys first, and then I'll say my bit as a woman, what it means to me. Yeah,
I'm very controversial about this subject.
Okay,
but it's real, isn't it? This is the thing. Like, let's hear everyone's views.
I think for me as well, like the term toxic masculinity. I was talking in uni the other week around how when we're working with young people, is if you're working with a group of girls who are struggling with self-esteem or want to aspire to be this person and that person, or have got this sort of relationships going on, or maybe in a wrong relationship, we talk about healthy relationships work.
Yeah.
As soon as it comes to boys and you've got they've got these views, or they're trying to be masculine, and then it's toxic masculinity, and it's a whole complete different route you're expected to go down in terms of.
So what you're saying is healthy relationships.
I
Someone's put a banner on that.
No, but I think there's an element, not fully, but I think there is that. I've seen it from my experience, and I'm not saying I'm fully right in what I'm saying, but in terms of like, it is that labelled as toxic masculinity, that sort of thing, and then sometimes with girls it's labelled at that. And I think when we're talking about the online stuff, a bit like what I was saying earlier around, I think people are too scared to explore it, so it's very easy to say, Ben, don't watch Andrew Tate. But it's actually, where's that time of why are you watching it? What's actually what's going on for you? Where I think is people are easily to shut it down.
Well, that's youth work, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think
if I was a young person and you told me not to do something, I would love to do it. Right now, if I hear no, I'm like, I'm going to do it. The institution told me that I can't win this campaign, so I'm going to do it, and then I win my campaign. You know, this is my lens that I think through.
Yeah.
So
if it's taboo, why don't you look at it?
If it's taboo, you become curious about it. So we've had a conversation about Andrew Tate in our house. We've had conversations about masculinity, healthy masculinity, different types of masculinities, different types, and the energies that they're picking up when my daughters see these things online. Although there's a big level of safety in our house where, I don't know what it's called in English. It's like a cotton ball, yeah? Like my children are in that at the moment because none of them have a social media account, yeah? And
keeping them safe, basically. Cotton
yeah,
ball,
so far, yeah.
Cotton
And my eldest one, she's probably one of the few rare children in her network of bigger friends groups where she doesn't have a social media account. And there's been some frustrations around that, like as a family as well, because we're like, how do we do this? You know, how do we navigate this? And then, you know, recently they said they're going to ban media for under 16. So I said, hey, Ash,
that's another
here
podcast.
We go. You know, like, for us it's working, but also what does that mean? There's so many complexities around that to ban under 16.
All her friends, what are they doing?
Well, they have to detox now. That's what she's told them. She said, guys, you've got a year to get offline. So she's twisting it to benefit her, right?
And it's like the curfew as well, isn't it? Like they're now going to bring in this curfew.
Oh, is there a curfew?
But under 16s, can't watch it past 11 or 12 o'clock. And then you could just go in settings and turn it off, so they're not really.
Well, the whole thing in Australia. Let's not get diverted onto that. But I mean, it is interconnected, isn't it? Like,
it's complex.
Yeah.
The problem I have here is that as people, we like to do the umbrella statement because people don't know what they're talking about, and the umbrella statement is toxic masculinity at this moment. But it's awareness, so I won't kick it completely because there's awareness of it. But for me, I separate the two. You have masculinity and then you have toxic men. Don't confuse the two. And the reason why I say that is right now, even for young people like Jaden, like asking the questions, which is good, so I really applaud him, is when you're dealing with masculinity and toxic behaviors, like what are those insecurities in those men? What is the dysregulation in those men. Do you know what I mean? So money doesn't help. Money doesn't fix your trauma. Money doesn't fix like your emotional state. And when you look at some of these influencers, they're men, but they're really lost kids.
Yeah.
And the money's just made them justify
more money, more problems.
Yeah, they're just promoting it now. Like, oh, well, even though I'm this way, so I'm just going to promote my way about doing things. But when you really peel the layers back, you can see the insecurities there, like, or where the lack of morals is. Do you know what I mean? But this is the thing. If you are telling young boys, right, you got toxic masculinity, this, that, and the third. When have we ever said, well, this is how you be masculine?
Yeah, what example do they have? Have we talked about that? To now be honing in on toxic masculinity so much. I hear what you're saying.
There's a big problem when you tell young people you can't be this dangerous thing. Then they say, well, what am I supposed to be? And no one got an answer.
And what's the other option?
So
what's the living examples of masculinity? Because actually that's from, as a woman and as a child, a female child, to my parents, you know, when I hear this, when I see it in the social media as well, this toxic masculinity message on the news, you know, warnings, my first instinct is, what's my experience? My first thought is, what's my experience with masculinity? And I think of my dad, which is hardworking, humble guy. You know, the money he made went to the family. We are where we are, as all the women in the family, partially because of my dad and all the energy and love he put into us. And he is the biggest feminist that I know. And every quality in him was the standard, really high standard that I had for when I was looking for a partner. And it's so interesting because that is my definition of masculinity. That is, and he's a feminist, and he, you know, will come on all these different types of protests. And that is all the different ways he lives as well. He's a gardener. He's got a day job. Like, he's soft and hard in different ways, but it's not anything like this toxic masculinity message. So it's
that is what we would all hope for. And I'm just going to chuck it in there, Levi, and then you just like, but it's just like, if literally you don't have necessarily a dad member around. Do you know what I mean? If you don't have that role model around for whatever reasons, if you don't necessarily have those place-based youth provisions that may have been there out of school, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you don't have those things, what do you have? We know what young people have. Most of them had that.
The internet.
If what they see is what they see, they only know what they know. And then this is the point. And Jaden came up with his question, but the whole reason was on the phone. He was going, well, if everyone sees this all the time, and then someone sees, you know what it's like, there's always a pecking order in every group of friends.
Yes.
If certain mates that are supposedly, you know, the hard nuts or whatever version of it is, are going on about whatever it is that they've seen or their experiences or trauma at home is certain stuff, well, they might not be, but they think that it's going to be cool to say it because they think that's the hot thing at the moment. Yeah. Then other people follow that. But then there's like, the trouble is then you get people following it like it's a trend.
Yeah.
You just said then, like, how many people were flipping like going on about making money from this? It's sensationalism, isn't it?
That's what the job of the media is.
I was just going to say pretty much what Ben said is actually where...
Sorry.
No. Sorry. Mine's thinking like Ben. It's that sort of absence of fathers and dad. Like, I grew up, I don't know my dad. Even to this day, don't know. And it's that sort of thing of like, my mum done her best. She passed away when I was 16, but then I was left with no one to some extent. And it's actually, I've always been quite family female dominated and that sort of thing. There's male in the family, but then there's that thing of like, where do you look? Where do you sort of thing? And then for me, obviously the youth worker who support me was a woman, that sort of thing. And I navigated, hopefully feel like I've done a good job to get to where I am. But that sort of thing of like, I'm only becoming the man who I think I should be.
And how old are you now? Do you know what I mean? Like
30 the other day.
And that's the thing.
But it's that thing of
journey,
like...
isn't it?
And that's for me. But then how many other young people are like in similar situations, particularly in South Bristol? And I know it'll be the same across the city. But obviously I can only talk...
It's particularly matriarchal around here, isn't it? As in, it's like families, communities are run by strong women.
Yeah.
And like, where do men feel like they sit? In the world, in certain communities, I can't talk about everywhere.
This is a big issue because there's a lot of mental health issue with men, and when you look at the data, is bad, and it's the confusion. And when you look at like these influencers who are talking and influencing people in that toxic way, all they're really doing is making wounds feel comfortable. So like when young people or whenever men are listening to these things or these ideologies that they're coming out with, like if you have an insecurity or a trauma and somebody gives you an excuse not to address it, but this is how you get around it, and you can still be successful by not dealing with it, we're going to go around it. Well, no, we need to deal with it. Do you know what I mean? And I applaud you, you know what I mean? Like my dad was never about easy, but like to just even hear your story and see that you've turned out to be a great man today, that's a testimonial in itself. Do you know what I mean? And those are the things that need to be championed. Like is
the amplification should be on stories like yours, because the media's job is sensationalization, right? And it's just feeding the algorithms. There's something there that is working.
And then people know they can make money from
but it's
it.
not working for the community, for people, for men. And also I want to say, I'm sorry for talking about my father in a positive light.
No,
because it's
no,
I'm sorry if it triggers any feelings. I'm sorry
That's the
about
dark and the
that.
shade. That's the reality of life, and that's
listen.
exactly that's what we want. I want to be like your dad. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the truth of it.
Yeah.
So
I don't
and
think
you
it's
will
the
for your kids.
Yeah, that's the thing
So
for
it all
me. And
goes
I
in-
think that's why I bring like.
I just feel sad for you.
No.
But congratulations for
thank
doing
you.
good with your life.
And I think like for me is that I'm now a dad myself, so you try and be that person you didn't have, and that's how I do it. Is actually, I think I'm doing a good job, like I said. But like for my own kids, it's actually what did I miss?
Yeah.
What I didn't have, I need to replace that for them.
That's
But
a
then
lot of
I
work.
think-
A lot of work for you.
mate,
Well
it's
done.
hard.
Being now is number one.
Yeah.
But I think
Do you
it's
know what I
that
mean?
thing of like bringing it back down to like this is where is that element of we've got all these young people who are falling into that trap, who haven't got dads, who haven't got that sort of thing, who are covering it up with that and feeling like that's how I should be, but who come back to that route, who's going to invest, who's going to actually sit and talk.
Yeah.
So then we
Positive
like,
ones that have got it in them to actually have those deep discussions. Like there's many people that tiptoe around this.
sometimes you are the blessed soul. And I say that in the sense of like, sometimes there are people that you can evidence, like when God got his hand on you and says, actually, I'm going to guide you to be the man that you should be, regardless of all of the things that you went through to get to where you are now. Because your story is going to inspire and shape a lot of other people's. And even your story about how your dad was good, that's needed just as equal. Because we need to hear about that to know it exists, it's
That's
possible.
masculinity.
Yeah.
That's
Do you know what I mean?
the light
There's
of
another
that
way.
yeah, without the word toxic, you know,
Do you see what I'm saying?
like you're saying, what is toxic masculinity anyway? It's two different things. So yeah, it is. It's nice to share
Definitely.
different stories.
I think the other route, to take a complete different way, is like when we're saying around, particularly in South Bristol, there's a lot of dominant women, family. There's a lot of single parent families with dominant parents who are women.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. But
And they're doing both jobs.
Yeah.
both jobs. And I think, but where is the conversations around when does it become toxic feminism?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
is that a thing?
Yeah.
I can remember a big debate, which I'm not going to go into here,
Oh, please do.
before, but around like sort of toxic feminism isn't a thing. Don't be so stupid. But toxic masculinity definitely is. But it's actually, where is that?
What happened to equality?
Do you know
For that
what?
one.
Like one of my friends, Auden Allen, I will always tell people follow his page. He's an amazing guy. And how he breaks it down, he talks about toxic masculinity and the relationship between men and women, and he puts it so beautifully. So he frames women as water, element of water, and he frames men as the element of fire. And he says, look, water can hold you and literally like be very soft, but then it can also destroy and take out a whole city.
Yeah.
With fire as men, we can burn a village down or we can cook a meal. And there are both things going on both sides. But when we talk about toxic masculinity, this, it starts to get to that pitting two against each other, and it feels like that divide and conquer a bit.
Which is
But
like the politics as well. It's
you-
the same kind of. It's the same narrative, isn't it?
yeah, and it's about actually like we both have our traumas in this. how do we work together? What does that look like? And a lot of the time, especially with social media, it likes to highlight a side of a situation, to amplify it, to get the likes, to get people talking. But actually it's about highlighting, okay, well, let's start having conversations about what it should look like. Like what are the issues, or what are the barriers for women, and what are the barriers for men that are breeding these problems? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And these behaviors, and then we start to get to a real conversation.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, and I do think culture comes into it. I do think also the shift in generations. I think there's a lot of change, and it's happening all at once, quite a lot.
You
it's
wouldn't
a changing
have seen it, would
world.
you? Like,
Yeah. So
in the same way.
you just, we all do have to work together and work better together. And I know it's a thing we have to do everywhere, all the time, with every hat on. But I think we've all been children. We navigated a world. I navigated growing up without the internet. I can't imagine what it's like for young people to have access to so much on the internet all the time. It's so scary. That's scary enough. And we can do our best to filter it out at home, wherever. But they're still exposed to it.
Next to our kids, and they're 16 or 15 or whatever, and they're going to be told no, and you're like, no.
No, they're exposed to it. Yeah.
Good. Was that an advert? Nice one.
Even if they listen to you and they have limitations at home, you have, after 9 o'clock, you can't access the internet. Some families have it tight like that, like my family. But they still do go to an outside world where they're growing up fast with all their friends.
And they're still
there's
see
a lot
things
going
on
on.
People's phones,
yeah, of course.
And I think there's the element of like you can't ignore it. It's like a bit what you were saying just now, Ryan, being like youth workers 10 years ago, 20 years ago, however far we want to go back, is that here and now thing. We was having a conversation in uni around the digital youth work stuff, and people being like, oh no, computers, no. But was those people who are brilliant workers, been youth workers for about 20, 30 years, but are stuck in that way of being like, and I get their arguments around hate phones, hate computers, but actually it is that here and now we need to adjust to what is here.
Yeah.
Or they get left behind, the gap gets bigger.
The human connection that discusses these kind of things, so people can actually have an outlet to talk about it, to kind of work out where it is and work out what it is.
Might even be needed. Something for your next podcast about social media stuff anyway, but it's that thing of like, if we're not going to talk about it, if we're not going to approach it head on, straight in the middle, they're going to do it anyway, and then they're going to do it without us knowing, so we might as well open up that conversation.
And we have to be uncomfortable. We have to
challenges that may have left youth work.
Yeah.
That, for me, I used to work over in Central and East and at the Mill and different places, and I just remember having it banged into me. But you could probably all know all the names. Anyway, and it is that challenge, not being scared to challenge the discussion.
And I think like we had it, I was at a conference down at my uni, going back a couple of months ago, and Hannah Jordan from Youth Focus Southwest was talking, and she was saying actually like, so one thing from the day that really stuck me is we were talking about the flags and that sort of stuff and identity and racism and that sort of thing, and it's that she was saying then if we're too scared to challenge or we're too scared to enter that conversation, then we're failing young people.
Nothing changes.
And I think it's that thing, and it really stuck around that sort of failing young people, and actually.
And the young people are looking to us to find something that we're working on together collectively, whether they know it or not. That is what they're doing. We did that as young people. We looked to those older than us to create a pathway for us that's stable for us to walk along or just step into. And then we create the rest of the path.
Here's a very interesting thing, that I hear from young people now. This makes me laugh all the time, and I'm just like,
let's finish on a laugh, mate. Come on.
We need it.
No pressure.
A lot of young people actually look at like corporate institutions and they'll be like, they're dumb. Like, and that's their exact words. They're like, they don't know what they're doing. Like, they don't believe that they're run by people that are doing things in a smart manner. And here's the reason. When you have these young people being criminally exploited, they will advertise the hell to young people. It's popping up on their social media. They know how to get into all of these illegal actions using all of these platforms. Tell me when you've heard young people say they've seen opportunities from the youth sector on these platforms.
No.
Why do they not know where the funding's going? Because it's never been on these platforms.
To get with the times.
So, like, we are a sector, that are super crap at
reaching,
connecting
yeah.
with young people that they don't even know what's going on.
Wow.
Keeping it relevant. That's the thing.
Like,
it's a changing world.
I think
It's
it is
true,
that,
but
like,
when
when-
you kind of sit with that and think, hold on, so you're telling me people who are grooming kids are
Way better
have a
than-
better campaign than these institutions.
Yeah, it's kind of it's
No,
wild, huh? It's
I
wild,
just think
but
that's
it's
why
happening
the
in front of
blend.
us. It's when you talk
That's the
about
blend,
it.
isn't it?
Wow.
And that's how serious
That's
we
how
need to
disappointing it
upgrade
is,
what
yeah.
we're doing. Like, that is the serious kind of bombshell. Like, hold on, how are like people who are trying to criminally exploit young people got better marketing campaigns than these large institutions that got more money?
I wonder, is it because they're run without ego? They're trying to
Wow.
get financial gain.
It's a lot,
They
yeah.
literally just think, I'm trying to earn some money.
a customer, it's
This
another
is
customer,
the best
yeah.
thing. This is what is going to get them, hook them. Then I can work with them.
But they're good at it, right? They're good at it.
But then what we're saying as youth work organisations or bigger organisations or whatever, if we're saying no, like, I don't get me wrong, I think that basically you're never going to actually like do any better than being face to face and that physical connection with people. But there's got to be a blend because the times have changed.
Yeah.
And we've got to roll with that and make it work for young people.
Yeah.
And that's
And the online world they tapped into, and some things click on the online world and it just attracts them. And so we either collectively need to find ways of how that works for our young people on the ground, but also return to them face to face, because there's nothing like face to face. There's nothing like that one person that sees you that may knock on your door today and you say, I'm not ready. You can't even let them in because you're not comfortable with what you might be, opening the door to. Both ways. But then you go back to them in 6 months and you check in again, and there's something there that's meaningful.
And I think
It's the human nature
and
to
it's
be
that
face to face. Yeah.
not giving up. And I think it's that, and young people seeing that, and that's big for me as well. As it was saying about that exploring and that not being afraid to challenge it, but you've got to be ready to be faced with that. Slam the door in your face. I ain't talking to you. But you know what? I'm still going to come
That's
back
a
next
moment,
week.
though. Yeah, exactly.
I'm still going to come back next week.
Yeah.
And then they finally come with you. And that's what happened with me. And I've seen it similar with me with other young people. That actually, and then that moment clicks.
Yeah.
And then that's when them conversations.
It's when they can see you can care, mate.
Start
They've been
like-
surrounded by not so
communication.
much, not as much
Yeah.
care, and in the end, you slowly just wear down that shield. I'm not letting anyone get close, trauma, all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And suddenly it's like, he's like
Yeah.
relentless, that flipping Levi. He just won't stop.
Yeah.
Knocking.
Yeah.
He must care. Because
Yeah.
why don't he have what? Do you know what I mean? And then that's the moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's that little light bulb moment.
Do you remember Theo that you
Yeah,
on
yeah,
grassroots?
yeah.
I'm still friends with Theo, and I say friends now. I don't say
Yeah.
I'm working with him because I worked with him through you. There was
Yeah.
grassroots
GAP,
communities,
the GAP program.
yeah.
Yeah.
He changed his life around, right? Completely
mate,
turned a lot of things
seriously.
around.
He's going to
Serious guy.
university, like, he's got loads of
you were-
I
challenges.
can remember him in
Yeah.
year 7
He's
when I
just-
worked at
right.
his school and he was in year 7. And
You
Yeah.
all know,
fair play to him.
you all
Great
know
guy,
the
but he
family
does pinpoint people in his life
challenges,
that have
yeah.
helped him through, and you're one of those people. And I don't work with him. I'm not paid in that
He done a
position to
live
work with him.
podcast at Birdman the other day in front
He's
of 10,000
amazing,
people.
yeah.
What?
But there's people like that, right? That's a success story, yeah. But even those types of stories is worth staying in touch with them, because you just never know what they're still battling in every network in their life to be this other version of themselves that they want to grow into, that they still don't know what it is, but they know that they want to grow. So
people
that's a
that
great
really
one, because
care
they know that they want to grow.
Do that. And I don't think
There's
and that's
not many.
Yeah, but that's because you absolutely live and breathe this kind of way. And you,
Yeah,
you,
or you are of that community as well, and you understand
Like,
the different layers.
people are
Yeah,
nearly 30
Yeah.
and they're still coming back. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, because they know
Like,
that changed
do you
their
know what I
life.
mean?
They know that was that scheme.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Though? Like, it's,
Yeah.
it's true.
I think the point you said is extremely powerful and important, is that what people deem as success and then think they don't need support. Because when you're dealing with equality, when you're dealing with equity, what was the cost of that success and what's ongoing for you to maintain that?
Yeah.
And a lot of the times we have this vision of, right, this person's got success, they're good, they ain't got nothing to worry about, they've
Yeah.
got this time they're actually
Yeah.
suffering,
That's how
Yeah.
it looks.
trying to, do
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, they're navigating a lot to.
Yeah.
It's like a swan. Yeah, you're doing all right on
People fall
top, and then
down all the
underneath
time,
you're just
don't they?
paddling hard to like maintain a level. And when you realize that is within yourself, sometimes in some spaces, you're like, wow, everyone else is going through that, or some people are going through that and some are not. And so even things like asking, how are you in the office or anywhere to a young person, it becomes a question that you ask yourself 100 times first before you ask it, because that's a big question to ask someone. How are you? Because if you really mean it, you have to sit down and listen to how they are, or it's just in passing. Yeah,
They can tell if you mean it.
How are you, Ben? How are you, Ben? All right, Ben.
Don't get me started.
Yeah, but that, is little things, and they got a long, long way, and people do they feel seen or not seen.
Yeah.
In with the smaller sentences. And yeah, I just wish there was more care. Like one thing is taking a salary home. Some people take the salary home and they've just done all right job of it. Some people, you wonder how they take that salary home. And then some people really go all out and they take the same salary home. And I wish that I felt that there was more of us that checked in with each other and more of us that really had each other's back, so that we can sustain our energy levels and the systems we're in, so that we can do that work that the young people are waiting for us to do.
There's so many people as well, like talking about salaries, who bend over backwards and really care about young people, really care about their communities, who haven't got a salary attached to them at all. And when you see the work they put in, it's just like,
you don't know how they're still doing it.
You could be earning like 50, 60k with what your passion and that sort of.
And even if you are,
like,
what support are you getting?
Yeah.
Like whether you are,
the whole
or you
ecosystem
aren't,
you need around you.
Not every,
But one of the things that I think is very dangerous, is that in the sector there is a lot of exploitation for the staff and for practitioners, because people be like, oh, you didn't get into
living
this to
wage,
make a
baby.
living.
GC,
Like, do you know what I mean? So, like, the amount
young
of
people and adults.
the amount of secondhand trauma you receive from helping a lot of young people who are going through trauma, and the amount of things, and the mindset of a lot of practitioners. No, I don't want to take money because it's immoral. And I'm like, it's immoral that you don't take it, because if you're not maintaining yourself, how do you maintain that support?
Yeah.
Like, if you're not looking after yourself and you're not mentally well, or you're given this support, but then you're going home and you're struggling and your mental health is deteriorating, you don't have enough to even cover for counseling or any well-being stuff for yourself. How are you supposed to maintain that support?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
yourself in that position where you can still sustain yourself, I guess,
Yeah.
Yeah, that burnout is real. It really is real. And we don't go out there and say we burn out, do we? We generally, as humans, we share positive stuff online, don't we?
But no one can go forever at a certain pace if you don't have the support.
But there are allies, in different institutions and on the communities. There's your allies. There's your, at work. There's allies. There's your allies in your thousands of friends. But there's 5 or 6. That's your sanity circle. You go back to them. You let it all out to each other, and then you keep building together. You go back to work in separate places, and you keep building. Working together,
For me, where is that space? I'm going to talk for the youth sector, because obviously that's where I'm from, where everyone comes together and just being like, let's just not talk work.
It's a different
let's
thing,
network. Whereas I think
what your
now,
role is as well.
Yeah, and I think, but obviously we get these network events where we go and link up and that sort of stuff, but it's all very worker oriented. It's all about this project. Let's find out what Amara's up to. Let's go and find out what Ben's up to. That sort of thing. But where is that space where us as practitioners can come together and be like, do you know what, this has gone on for me at work? Do you know what, Levi, this has gone on this day?
That would be amazing.
You haven't got an agenda. I said many years ago with an area partnership, wherever that might be, about actually people going away, doing a residential together, just like you do with young people, and let's throw away the conversations about the work-based this, that and the other. Get to know people, build actual relationships based on trust, and care about the real person, not about trying to work out a flipping option or opportunity for your work.
There is something like that called
and then
kin.
people, I think, they'd support each other more.
Yeah, they do.
More support.
And I think
it's like a restorative moment.
Organisation, that I need to get that.
And it opens up that thing of like you said, it depends where you are in an organisation. So it might be, I end up at all these sorts of different events. So I know Ben, I know Amari, I know
you're tuned in, you're connected already.
But then how does everyone else know? And then it's how do then we link up? So we ain't in competition with each other, which it shouldn't be. Youth work should not be a competition. We know sometimes it becomes that because of funding, whether it's labelled as competition or not. But that sort of thing of like, oh, we got this going on. Oh, I can link him with Amari.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Let's get him involved in that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Unless you're in them arenas,
You need to know.
you don't really know what's going on in the city to some extent.
And this is sorry, go on.
No, so you're talking.
Sure.
I'll go after you. Yeah.
No, the thing I would say about like the youth sector in Bristol as well, where it is a little bit, the ground isn't really that stable for us at the moment, is we are going to start needing to be entrepreneurs as well as youth practitioners, because we are going to need sustainability. And even some of the large organizations that have been going for years and you're getting the same pot of funding for years,
You're gonna be there forever.
you should need to,
That's true, isn't it?
like, they should have to build sustainability for themselves with that. So then that pot can be directed somewhere else.
Yeah.
So there needs to be some form of sustainable model. And I think that should also be a collaboration with the young people in the community. So if the young people say, do you know what, we have an interest in, I don't know, sports or whatever the case is. All right, cool. Let's get some tournaments going. Let's get people buying tickets. Let's get in, create a business out of young people's interests. So there's sustainability in what they're interested in and there's investment.
Learning,
but there is something there to sustain ourselves as practitioners as well. And I think that's kind of the direction that we're being forced into. But I don't think people have kind of woken up to that just 100%.
It's a bit evolving. It's like you have to evolve what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
And secondly, it's surviving and sustaining, because if money's tight and people are being pushed to the same places for that little money that trickles down to the very bottom, really, that's what it feels like sometimes compared to the need
And I
that
think-
needs to be covered.
I think it's that way as well. Like, how do we become entrepreneurial? I can't really say the word. Hopefully, I said it right. But that
yes.
sort of thing, like with the young people with their interests and being like, we talked about opportunities earlier, but how do we go that direction with them alongside? Like, it was 12 years ago. Me and Dougie were in Botswana, that sort of thing. And like, I wouldn't have never ever had that experience. But that's an experience I'll always treasure in my life. But that sort of thing of like, how are we saying to young people, right? You know what? Let's make the unbelievable happen, and we do it together.
Well, you just got to be open to it, haven't you? And you just got to know that there's nothing restricting. The only thing restricting you is your ego.
Yeah.
Like me, all of us. Like, you know what I mean? It's like if you're open to young people really taking the lead and learning from something that may or may not work, that's where the gold is.
And some of these young people are smart.
Yeah.
Like, I get impressed so much times. Like, when I work with young people, I'm just sat there
So
blown away.
creative. There's
Really
something
learning.
else.
This is what they
There's
do.
something else. Yeah. Like I tell my daughter, she's so good with making online content. And I have to go with that change and I have to encourage that. Yeah, go on, explore a career in the creative industry. Whereas a generation or two back, I would have been told, actually, there's no money in art. Don't do that. Let's focus on academia.
Follow
you know,
your
so
energy. Follow your energy,
just
follow
open
your
the door to her.
excitement. You
But
only
the
get
thing
once.
is,
I got hope. Look, you know, I mean,
yeah,
thing is,
well, look, there's hope around the table. I've got hope
that's what I
because
was
you
just
guys
about to
exist
say.
in the sector.
I could
That's
gladly
my
sit down
hope.
there for another
Yeah.
3 hours, but I think
Yeah, and soon enough, I'm
batteries
gonna-
are starting to squeak. Honestly, that's exactly
but
what
I
I was
need
going
you
to
to be
say.
sustained, because soon enough I'm going to send my children to you guys and say, look, work with
But
them.
there
This
is
is youth
hope.
work.
You
know?
just said it. There
Yeah.
is hope. And yes, there's many challenges, and we've pointed out a load of them, and there's many more. But there's many successes, and there's a few around the table.
Yeah.
And there'll be other people that we
Yeah.
support that'll be the next version of that. So
I'd love for there to
It's
be
good to
spotlight
hear.
stories as well, like
that'd be
spotlights,
good.
really good spotlight stories, because there are many spotlight stories and in Bristol, and they'll have a whole exhibition about it. But Wave
We're
we did that a
working
bit
on something.
differently. Yeah, Wave we did that differently. You know, Wave we did it with people that are not the usual suspects, and
well, that's exactly right.
You know?
And that's what we're working on.
yeah,
But,
send me the
like,
invitation. I'll circulate online. Yeah, honestly, it mean a lot to young people and to people like me who also don't go to different parts of the city just naturally, because my work doesn't come into it all the time.
It
So
doesn't now.
I would
but
love
it has
to.
Done. And
Yeah,
that's
it
that
has
next
done. It has
level
done.
and layer, isn't it? Community
But bring
development
different
is-
parts of the city to other parts, because we are naturally moving communities in and out of other parts of the city. So just bringing those stories to different parts. Like the M Shed's really good at that. They've always got a story about different parts of Bristol in central Bristol. Yeah, I'd love more of that.
Real
Yeah.
life stories.
To resonate with young people as well. You guys resonate with young people. You're young. You speak their
That's
language.
next
They, you know,
podcast.
the terminology.
I've
You
got an
speak
extra
it.
5 after listening to you guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, look, thanks for coming. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's a lot in it, what all of you have said. And
more,
and thanks for being open to bringing it to the table.
Thank you.
No, thank you.